Ah! Come on, come on. Oh, it ruined, it ruined, it ruined. Welcome back, Casual Cooks. Today you're in for a little bit of a rocky road. We had a tough start, but we ended up nailing the Margherita pizza on the Gozney Dome Gen 2. Come along and watch us cook. Welcome back. My name is Josh and this is the Casual Culinary. If you're just new to the channel, we focus on trying to pumping up the flavor, but decreasing the stress that goes along with cooking to make everything a little bit casual. If there's anything that you're getting out of this channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really adds to our followers and it allows us to reach a lot more people. We are making a margherita pizza today. It's going to be fantastic and it's not a perfect cook. There's some issues along the way, but I promise you, in the end, it's going to be well worth it. So last time we started with a New York style dough from Gozney. Today we're doing the Neapolitan dough because we're going to be making a margherita pizza. All the directions are right on the back. You could do dough one of two ways. You could do this by hand mixing or you could do this by using an actual mixer. I'm going to do a little bit of both. So I like to try to keep my hands as clean as possible and not get too messed up in all the stuff. So what I'm going to do, here's the yeast, and we're going to dump in all of the flour into our mixing bowl at one time. We're going to take the packet of yeast that comes with the dough itself, and we're going to put that right in over the top. And we're just going to mix it by hand for about 30 seconds just to get some of that yeast incorporated into the flour. And then after that, we're just going to add some water. And like I said, we're going to start this on the hand mixer. I think the hand mixer does a good job of getting it generally in a pretty good ball. And then after that, we can work on it by hand. I feel like then I like to get my hands on it and really feel when the dough is done, when it stops being as tacky and sticky and starts looking like what we want it to for our dough balls. All right, that's just been about 20 or 30 seconds. Again, I'm not hardcore mixing it. I'm just kind of moving it around, dry mixing with my hand. So I'm going to put my dough hook inside and move this over into the mixer. We're going to go ahead and put on the dough hook and get that right into place. Make sure it's locked in. And then we're going to start it slowly and add in the water. Let's see if I can move you guys up. And we're going to add the 1 3/4 cup of water to the bowl. First, we started off pretty slowly. I have the video in a little bit of fast forward mode, so started off around a 2. And as we added a little bit of water each time, I cranked it up a little bit more. You just don't want the water splashing around and the flour going all over your kitchen. But eventually it starts kind of grouping together as one big ball. And you don't even have to add all the water. You can just kind of play it by ear as you're watching it. All right, so you can see the dough, and we're just going to pour it out here. We don't need any flour or any oil on the countertop. This is just a regular quartz countertop, but I've cleaned it. Obviously, you want to make sure it's clean. My hands are clean for now, but it's okay. We're going to mix it around, and we want to mix it for probably about 10 minutes, maybe 8 to 10 minutes. Normally, if you were doing this whole thing in the mixer, it would be about 5 to 8. If we were doing the whole thing by hand, we would probably do it for about 10 to 12 minutes based on the directions that Gozney talks about. But since I started it in the mixer and we're finishing it by hand, I'll just do it for about 8 to 10 minutes. But you'll see when it starts really coming together.
8 minutes later.
Next up, we're going to turn that dough ball into 4 smaller dough balls of about 270 to 275 grams, depending on how much came out. So let's get that done. I'm going to grab a bench scraper, and I'm just going to try to put it kind of in one spot. We're going to try to cut it in half, and then I'll try to cut it into quarters just to get an idea of where to start. And we will turn on the scale. And then we are just going to ball these up. There's lots of different ways people ball. I think I showed you on the last video. All right, here's my little Tupperware that I'm going to go ahead and put these in. And we've already got them weighed out to about 260, 259, 260. So they're going to be a little bit smaller than I thought, but that's all right. They're still going to be good. All right, and we just kind of ball it around. A lot of people put it down on the bottom and do it that way. I just like to kind of use the tuck method. And then we're just going to put it right in there. And we're going to finish these other ones up. Now we've got 4 equal-sized dough balls. We're going to put the lid on and let that sit for about 2 to 4 hours so it proofs. And then we'll be making some sauce and the very few toppings we need to do to get going on this pizza. And time to get to the sauce. You've seen this before if you watched the episode on how to do the New York style. I do the same sauce for both, whether it's the Margherita pizza or whether it was the New York, which is I just found some Italian DOP tomatoes, the San Marzano or San Marzano style, and about a teaspoon of salt, heaping salt. And again, I have one of these stick blenders, so that helps me get this mashed up. You could use your hands. You could come up with different ways, but I just think this is one of the quickest ways to do it. Sometimes there's a little extra liquid in these San Marzano style tomatoes, so I'm going to just put that lid down a little bit and kind of drain some of that excess liquid just until you don't get a whole bunch more pouring out because you're going to blend it up. It's already going to be a liquid. We don't need a lot of that excess liquid in there. So there wasn't that much. Right here we have a heaping teaspoon of salt, just regular iodized salt. We're going to put that right in. And again, I have one of these stick blenders. You don't need to use much. You're just going to use it very little, but you could use your hands. You could crush it up. Any other way is fine. But I'm just going to kind of put it in there. I'm going to move it down a little bit and just hit the go button really quick. That's it. You still want it a little bit rustic, a little bit chunky. So I don't want to put much. I'm just trying to kind of feel how much of the extra tomatoes are still in here that aren't blended. A little bit at the bottom. And you're just kind of mixing up a little bit of that salt in there. But this looks really good. I'll show you the consistency in a sec. Notice I'm not running it. I'm just kind of pulsing it. And there it is. So that's what we got. And just so I can show you a little bit of what that consistency looks like, I'll take out a spoon. And let me hold that up. So you can see it's still chunky. I can move the spoon. It doesn't all just drip off right away. Kind of sits on there. Okay. So that's what we're going to be using. And we're going to set that aside. Let that come to room temperature. Next comes the cheese. To make a margherita pizza, the idea is you actually get the real fresh mozzarella, not the stuff that's already kind of partially dried. So we're going to use fresh mozzarella. This comes pre-sliced, not hard to find. You can normally find it at your regular grocery store. I even found some at Costco that were a real steal, but I had already purchased these. So we just need to get these cut up into pretty large chunks. I'm going to put it in this glass bowl, but I'm actually going to use a strainer to kind of put in there. Because this is wet and it's going to end up with a lot of moisture, I want some of that moisture to make it through so that it's not just sitting in its own moisture. So I'm going to put that one aside, and then we're going to cut this up. All right, so like I said, this is already pre-sliced, so it's already done. We can just rip those slices apart, and we're just going to rough cut. So we're just going to cut straight down into kind of marginally large chunks, and we're going to use it to just sprinkle over the pizza. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a nice little amount that we can put over it, and then we'll just put that right into our bowl. So if you're looking for the sizes, you're just getting it kind of chunky. Okay, so we'll put that one in there. That dough is going to make enough for 4 pizzas. So I'm just trying to cut up enough cheese to be able to use for 4 of those pizzas. Perfect. So we've got the sauce done. The dough is proofing. Cheese is done. We're going to let it drain and come to room temperature. So I'll move that off to the side. All that's left, I have some fresh basil that we're going to tear when we put it on there, and then just a little bit of actually pecorino romano that we'll put on there, and then some extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to be good to go. It's time to finally make our pizza. We've got the dough going. It's been proofing for about almost 4 hours. Again, we are using the Gozney dough and we are using Neapolitan. Here's what it's looking like. It's a little hot outside today, so I don't know if it's going to be a little stickier than normal, but we will find out. We are going to take a little of the semolina flour and sprinkle that over our first dough ball that we're going to pull out. And we'll put a little bit down on the counter. And let's take one of these out. The dough balls, again, were about 260 grams. We had to use a little less than I originally wanted to. Come on. And we're going to flip that over. We want to try to keep it as round as possible. These do seem a little stickier than normal, but we'll see how this works out. Get some more of the semolina flour on there. And let's get it into a circle. And flip it over. And we're just going to kind of go ahead and push into there. We want the crust to create a little bit of a lip. So I'll move it over. Can't say I'm the best stretcher yet, but I like to just stretch by letting gravity do its thing. And we're trying to stretch it out to about 12 inches is what the dough recommends. I'm going to move some of that semolina over so it doesn't get too dry. Looks like it could be about 12 inches. I'm going to go with that. We have to sauce it up. Again, the sauce is just basically the San Marzano tomatoes and some salt. So we'll put a little of the sauce on there, kind of working it out towards the crust. Not a perfect circle, but we're trying it as best we can. Again, casual culinary. We may not hit it perfect, but we're trying. We can end up trying to make a second or a third if it ends up this doesn't work out, but that's okay. I'm going to put a little pecorino romano, and I am going to just put just a little bit down, add a little bit more of saltiness. Okay, this is the fresh mozzarella that we cut up, and I put it over a strainer so it kind of drains. We're just kind of spreading this stuff out. Again, we're not going to do like a New York style where we're totally crowding the entire dough. We're just going to kind of end up with some cheese and the sauce. So it's okay. We're going to see the sauce going through. We are cooking this at a super high heat. This one is going to be at about 750, 800 degrees compared to when we did the New York. It was much less heat for a longer period of time. And then we have some fresh basil leaves. And I know some people decide to put the leaves on either after it's done cooking or sometimes before. I'm going to try before on this one. If it doesn't work, I'll do the next one after. But oh, the smell of that basil is so fragrant. It is fantastic. All right, and then all we really need is just a little bit of olive oil. So we're just going to put a little drip of olive oil over the top. And that should be it. We should be good to go. Again, we are looking at about 780 degrees is what's going on over in the oven over here. So let's see, and let's get this going and see what it looks like. All right, we're going to go ahead and sprinkle a little semolina onto the peel to get it nice and dry. And let's see if we can get it in one scoop. Don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to just try it. I'm going to hold it up a little bit. And, oh, almost. So I'm going to put that down. We're going to pull it up over. I get a little nervous on this. My peel skills are not as well coiffed as they should be yet. So we're just going to play with it until we get the whole thing on. Rather do that than ruin a pizza. I can add a few more things of cheese on there to pick up where we left off. Readjust the basil. And we'll see what this one gets us. All right. All right. Let's see how the launch goes. Pretty excited. Oh, just a little bit. Still on there. Ah! Come on, come. Oh, it ruined. So we are going to try to sweep that one back up and take it out of there before everything gets ruined. It looks like it's already there. So we are going to leave that one in there and we'll try it again on the next one. So I'm going to leave that one in there for a sec. Okay, let me get that one out.
I decided to leave as much stuff in there because I wanted it to burn off. It kind of sucks, but once it's in there, you let it burn off, you scrape it with a scraper, it's pretty hot. And then I took a wire bristle brush to kind of scrape off the bottom and clean the stone again so it could be ready for the next pizza.
Everything was good till the launch. Well, if you're just tuning in, you've seen a failure to launch. First pizza launch, total disaster. My bad. Pizza dough was a little stickier than I thought it was going to be. So we're going to try again. Here we go with dough number 2. So we'll get the dough out. This time I'm going to put a lot of semolina on the places that need it so we don't have that problem. So I'm going to put a ton of semolina up on the top, get it nice and dusty. Take this out. I'm going to put it down on its face and pull that off. Yeah, this dough is a little stickier than I would normally like. So it turns out that maybe we could have used a little less water in the original recipe. All right, so we've got some semolina already on the stainless steel countertop. I'm going to put a little bit more up on the top so we have enough that it's going to be much better, hopefully, for this time. Okay, we're going to get it into that circle. I'm going to flip it over just to make sure. I'm going to start pushing down in the middle and a little bit on the side. We want to leave some of that air in the crust. Again, we need to stretch that out. So I'm going to stretch it out and let gravity do the work. I might have gotten it a little too thin beforehand. So I'm going to move that over and we're going to see where we're at. We're going for about a 12-inch size on that. And again, I just want to make sure that this is sliding on the bottom. If it's not sliding on the bottom, it probably means that it won't slide onto the peel. So what I'm going to do, I'm just feeling it around. There's definitely some parts that are still a little wetter. So I'll put a little bit on there. I don't want to get too much, but we have to be able to get it on the peel, and we got to be able to get it off the peel. That's the hard part. All right, we've got the pizza, and at least it looks a little bit more circular than the other one did. We'll go back in again for our sauce. All right, good enough. And we're going to still put a little of that pecorino romano. And it's a little windy, if you can see, so I'm going to try to get it right over. Again, we will add some of our fresh mozzarella. And we still need a little fresh basil. All right, now we need to see if we can get this on the peel and if it's going to stay on the peel. So I've cleaned the peel. I'm going to almost put too much semolina on there, and we're just going to, rather than try the scoop method, I'm going to try to just pull it on and see if we can do it that way. So we'll see what I got this time and pull it on. That seemed pretty good. Still keep the shape a little bit. That's good. I don't even think we need to rearrange anything on this one. Okay, let's see how this goes. All right, we are at 776 on the base and 784 in the dome. We're going to see what we got. And launch successful. This should only take us about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. This looks way better than what we just did on the first one. Coming up on about 40 seconds. So I'm going to stick that turning peel in there and just get it a little warm. Now we're going to have to get underneath and see if we got that crust going. All right, nice. So you can see we're getting a little bit of color on the side that was closest to the flame. So turn it around a little bit. This is looking good so far. We're a minute in. And I'm realizing I forgot the olive oil on the top, but that's all right. We're going to try it out. We still got 2 more pizza doughs to go with. You can see the crust rising. That's what we're looking for. Some of that leopard spotting is good. And flip that around again. Don't want one side to get too much. Still need to get a little bit more color on that crust. I'm going to put it back there a little bit. We're about 1 minute and 40 seconds in. And I'm going to look at the bottom. Looks like we could still get just a little. I'd love to get a little bit more color, but we're getting a little bit brown on the ends. So I'm going to kind of put this over and protect the top while the crust hopefully gets a little bit more. Normally on this dough, it takes about 2 to 3 minutes at 750 to 800. If you're cooking this on a regular oven, you'd want to be doing it for more like about 5 to 8 minutes on about 500 degrees. All right, let's see the bottom. Looking pretty good. Let's pull this thing off and see what we've got. Oh, yes. Look at that. You can see it bubbling. We probably could have got a little bit more on the cheese, but this is a good second start since we screwed up the other one. Look at this. This is our first try at the Margherita pizza. Oh, look at the undercarriage going on there. This is real. Well, this is good for our second try. Let's be honest. First one, not so great. And let's hear that crust. Nice and crispy. And let's give it a try. I'm going to go into 4s on this one. Oh, again, look at that undercarriage. You have that leopard spotting that looks fantastic. The crust is holding up. Don't know what to say. It's a little bit on that, but it is really good. And let's give this a try. Much different flavor than the New York. It tastes like I'm in Italy. Very light, very refreshing. I forgot to put that olive oil on. I'm going to do that on the next one, but you can just hear that crust. I didn't get any basil on this bite, but this is absolutely perfect. I may have botched that first one, but it's worth it for the second. And I have 2 more dough balls. You can guarantee I'm going to be trying the third and the fourth. Let me wipe my mouth off here. That sauce is spot on. Whether it was for the New York or it was margarita, so simple. Just the crushed tomatoes and a little bit of salt. That mozzarella cheese, perfectly fresh. You can see how it's spread out, but also how you still see the sauce coming through. It's not about the entire coverage that's going to go all over it. And the basil, I didn't get any basil on that one piece, but you can see some people put the basil on before it goes in, some people put it after, but we're only cooking it for 2 or 3 minutes. So this went out really well. You can see that the basil did not get burned on there. Still perfectly good. This is all I could ask for. Way to go, Gozney, on the dough balls. Way to go, Gozney, on the oven. But this is a fantastic taste. Again, if you do not have a Gozney Dome oven, I get that most people probably don't. You can do this dough in the regular oven. The instructions are on the back. It just takes a little longer at a little bit lower of a heat. 500 degrees for about 5 to 8 minutes compared to the 800 degrees for 2 to 3 minutes. But this is fantastic. I highly recommend it. If you have not hit the subscribe button by now, please hit that subscribe button. We have just hit the 300 subscribers, and I would love to see if we can hit the 500 or even more by this July 31st. But if you're enjoying the channel, please like, subscribe, interact with the content. Leave me a comment. Let me know on pizzas how you would do it differently or what you would add to make it different, or maybe something I haven't tried yet. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. And until I see you next time, keep it casual.